The case file landed on my desk 3 days earlier. Case number 2847B. Simple enough on paper. A parking violation in front of Providence City Hall. 17 unpaid tickets over 6 months. Total fines came to $4,200. Now, normally parking tickets do not end up in my courtroom. People pay them or they do not. But these tickets were special. They were all issued in the exact same spot. A handicapped parking space, the same handicapped space, reserved parking for disabled veterans visiting the VA Assistance Office. The defendant was Chief Richard Ashford, not just any chief, chief of police for the entire Providence Department, 52 years old, 28 years on the force. He drove a custom black Mercedes G-Wagon. I know because it was the same vehicle in every single parking ticket photograph. Vanity plates read Chiefum, not even trying to hide it. The victim was Margaret Kowalski, 73 years old, Purple Heart recipient, served 2 tours as an Army nurse in Vietnam. She lost partial use of her left leg from shrapnel in 1968. That handicapped space was designated for veterans like her who needed VA services. Margaret had to park 3 blocks away every single visit because Chief Ashford took her spot. 3 blocks does not sound like much until you are 73 with a bad leg and arthritis in both knees. I read through the file twice. Margaret had complained 6 times to the police department. 6 times. Each complaint was filed directly with the chief's office. Each one was ignored. She called the non-emergency line 4 more times. Those calls were never returned. Finally, she went to the mayor's office with photographs and documentation. That is when it reached my courtroom. The morning of the hearing, I arrived at 7:15 a.m. like always. I put on my robe. I made my coffee. I reviewed the case one more time. Something about it bothered me, not the parking tickets themselves, the pattern, the deliberate nature. This was not absent-mindedness. This was a statement. A powerful man showing everyone he could do whatever he wanted. Chief Ashford walked into my courtroom at 10:44 a.m., 3 minutes before his scheduled time. He wore his full dress uniform, dark navy blue with gold braiding on the shoulders, 7 commendation medals pinned to his chest. His shoes were polished so bright they reflected the courtroom lights. He carried a Louis Vuitton briefcase, not the regular kind you see in stores, the custom leather one that costs about $6,000. I know because my daughter showed me the website once. Behind him walked his attorney, Martin Westbrook from Westbrook and Associates, $1,500 suit, Rolex Submariner on his wrist, the kind of lawyer who defends people who think money solves everything. Margaret sat in the front row on the left side. She wore a simple blue cardigan, drugstore reading glasses. Her cane rested against the bench beside her. No lawyer, no expensive briefcase, just a manila folder with her evidence. I called the court to order at exactly 10:47 a.m. I looked at Chief Ashford. He was smiling, not a polite smile, the kind of smile that says this whole thing is beneath him, a waste of his valuable time. I began. Chief Ashford, you are here today regarding 17 unpaid parking citations issued between April 3rd and September 28th. All 17 violations occurred in the same location, a designated handicapped parking space reserved for disabled veterans. How do you plead? His attorney stood up. Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty to all charges. We move to dismiss this case on the grounds of procedural irregularity and selective enforcement. I raised my eyebrow. Selective enforcement? There are 17 photographs of your client's vehicle in that space, license plate clearly visible in each one. Chief Ashford leaned back in his chair. He actually put his hands behind his head. In my courtroom. He looked at his attorney and chuckled. A small laugh. Just loud enough for me to hear. Something amusing, Chief? I asked. He sat forward. Your Honor, with all due respect, I am the Chief of Police. I was conducting official business at City Hall, emergency meetings, budget discussions, public safety matters that cannot wait while I search for parking 3 blocks away. I had authorization from the mayor's office. Authorization, I repeated, to park in a handicapped veteran's space. Do you have that authorization in writing? His attorney jumped in. Your Honor, we have testimony prepared from multiple city officials who can verify the urgent nature of Chief Ashford's visits to City Hall during these dates. I looked at Margaret. She sat quietly, hands folded in her lap, watching, waiting. Mrs. Kowalski, I said, you filed 6 formal complaints about this situation. Is that correct? She stood slowly, using her cane for support. Yes, Your Honor. 6 complaints to the police department. I also called 4 times. Nobody ever called me back. I just wanted to park in the spot designated for people like me. I earned that right in Vietnam. Chief Ashford made a sound, a small scoff, almost under his breath. But I heard it. The court reporter heard it. Margaret heard it. Chief Ashford, I said. My voice dropped lower. Did you just scoff at a Purple Heart recipient? No, Your Honor, he said quickly. But he was still smiling. That same arrogant smile. Now here is where things get interesting. You still watching? Good. Because what I'm about to tell you is the part that made national news. Before we get there, do me a favor. Drop a comment below and tell me what you would do if someone disrespected a veteran in your courtroom. And smash that like button if you think powerful people need to follow the same rules as everyone else. I asked Margaret to present her evidence. She opened her manila folder with shaking hands. She pulled out printed photographs, 17 of them. Each one showed Chief Ashford's Mercedes in that handicapped space. Different dates, different times. She had timestamps on every photo. But then she pulled out something else. Printouts from the Chief's public Instagram account. His handle was Chief Ashford PVD, verified account, 42,000 followers. She laid 3 posts on my desk. The first post was from May 15th at 2:23 p.m. A photo of his Mercedes parked in that exact spot, the handicapped sign clearly visible in the background. The caption read, "Perks of the job, best parking in Providence. Brasa Chief Life, Brasa Boss Mode." The second post was from June 8th, another photo of the same parking spot. This time, the caption said, "Some people make the rules. Some people follow them. Know the difference." So leadership. The third post was from August 22nd, a selfie of Chief Ashford in his car. In the background through his windshield, you could see Margaret, walking slowly past his car with her cane, struggling on the uneven sidewalk 3 blocks from City Hall. The caption read, "Early bird gets the worm. You snooze, you lose. Satru's winning." The courtroom went completely silent. Even his attorney looked uncomfortable. I read each caption twice. I studied the photos. I looked at Chief Ashford. "You posted these publicly?" I asked. "You mocked this woman on social media while illegally taking her parking space?" He shrugged. "Your Honor, that is taken out of context. Those were just motivational posts about success and leadership." "Success and leadership," I repeated slowly. "You photographed Mrs. Kowalski without her knowledge or consent, a disabled veteran, walking with difficulty because you took her designated parking space, and you called it success." "Your Honor," his attorney interrupted, "my client's social media activity is protected speech and is not relevant to these parking citations." I held up my hand. "Counselor, your client just provided documented evidence of intent and malice. That makes it very relevant." Chief Ashford was not smiling anymore. His jaw tightened. He leaned toward his attorney and whispered something. His attorney whispered back. They were worried now. I could see it. I called a 15-minute recess. I needed to review everything carefully. In my chambers, I went through the file again, the Instagram posts, the complaint records. Something still bothered me. Why would a chief of police risk his reputation over parking tickets? What was really going on? I made a phone call to an old friend at the State Attorney General's office. I asked him if Chief Ashford's name had come up in any investigations. He told me to hold on. 2 minutes later, he called me back. "Frank," he said, "funny you should ask. We have been looking at Providence PD for 3 months. Financial irregularities, missing evidence from the property room. We are building a federal case." "Is Ashford involved?" I asked. "He is the primary target. We think he has been skimming seized assets for years. Cash from drug busts, jewelry, electronics, selling it through third parties. We estimate over $200,000. We were planning to arrest him next month." Everything clicked into place. The Mercedes, The Louis Vuitton briefcase, the custom suits, the arrogance. He thought he was untouchable because he had been getting away with it for years. I returned to the courtroom at 11:32 a.m. Everyone stood as I entered. Chief Ashford was on his phone. He did not notice me come in. His attorney had to tap his shoulder to get his attention. He put his phone away slowly, annoyed. "Chief Ashford," I said, "I have reviewed all the evidence. Before I rule on these citations, I want to ask you one question. Do you believe the law applies to you the same way it applies to everyone else?" He stood. "Of course, Your Honor. I dedicated my life to upholding the law." "Then why did you park in a handicapped space 17 times? Why did you ignore 6 formal complaints? Why did you mock the woman you wronged on social media?" His face flushed red. "Your Honor, you are making a mountain out of a molehill. These are parking tickets, minor infractions. I have actual crimes to solve, actual criminals to catch. With respect, Your Honor, maybe if you spent less time in this little courtroom dealing with parking tickets and more time understanding what real law enforcement looks like, you would understand why men like me cannot waste time circling blocks looking for parking." The courtroom went dead silent. His attorney grabbed his arm, tried to pull him back down to his seat, but Chief Ashford yanked his arm away. "Men like me keep this city safe," he continued. "Men like me make the tough decisions. And yes, sometimes that means I park wherever I need to park to do my job. I do not have time to play by every single little rule designed for regular people." Regular people. He said it with such contempt, such disgust. If you are still with me, you understand why what happened next had to happen. But first, real talk. What would you do if someone told you to your face that they are above the law? Comment below. And if you think this story deserves to be seen, hit that like button and share this video. Let people know that justice still matters. I let him finish. I let his words hang in the air. Every person in that courtroom heard him clearly. The court reporter typed every word. His attorney looked like he wanted to disappear. "Are you finished, Chief?" I asked quietly. He sat down, arms crossed, still defiant. "Bailiff," I said, "please ask Agent Morrison to come in." The back doors of the courtroom opened. FBI Special Agent David Morrison walked in, followed by 2 more federal agents. They wore windbreakers with FBI in yellow letters across the back. Chief Ashford's face went pale, actually pale. The color drained out of his cheeks in seconds. "Your Honor," Agent Morrison said, "we have been monitoring this hearing as part of an ongoing federal investigation. Based on the defendant's own statements just now, combined with evidence we have gathered over 3 months, we are prepared to take Chief Ashford into federal custody immediately following your ruling." The attorney jumped up. "Your Honor, this is highly irregular. We were given no notice of federal involvement." "Counselor," I said, "the federal investigation is separate from these parking citations, but I called Agent Morrison during recess because Chief Ashford's behavior indicated a pattern of believing he is above the law, a pattern the FBI has also noticed." Agent Morrison stepped forward. "Chief Richard Ashford is under investigation for embezzlement of seized assets, wire fraud, and conspiracy to distribute stolen property. We have documented at least $214,000 in missing evidence from the Providence Police Department property room over 4 years. We have traced purchases of luxury vehicles, jewelry, and other items directly to you using that money." Chief Ashford could not speak. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. His attorney was frantically typing on his phone, probably calling for backup lawyers. "The Mercedes G-Wagon outside," Agent Morrison continued, "paid for in cash, $73,000 in March of this year. 3 weeks after $80,000 in cash went missing from a major drug bust. The Louis Vuitton briefcase, purchased in June. Same week that high-end jewelry from an evidence locker disappeared." I looked at Chief Ashford. His hands were shaking now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by fear, real fear. "Your Honor," he said quietly, his voice cracked, "I can explain all of this. I am sure you will have plenty of opportunity to explain it to federal prosecutors," I said, "but right now we are here for 17 parking citations." "Your Honor, please," he said. He was begging now. actually begging. 60 seconds ago, he was laughing at me, telling me I was in a little courtroom dealing with minor issues. Now he was begging. These parking tickets are not important. We can settle this. I will pay the fines, double the fines. I will apologize to Mrs. Kowalski. Please. I let him talk. I let him plead. Then I spoke. Chief Ashford, you are correct about one thing. These parking citations by themselves are minor infractions. $4,200 in fines. That is what the law requires. But you did not just violate parking laws. You violated something much more important. You violated the trust placed in you by every citizen of Providence. You stole from a disabled veteran, not money, something worse. You stole her dignity, her space, her right to access services she earned through military service. And then you mocked her publicly for your own amusement. Margaret was crying quietly, tears running down her face, not sad tears, relief tears. For 17 counts of parking in a handicapped zone, I fine you $4,200 to be paid immediately. Additionally, I sentence you to 200 hours of community service. You will serve those hours as a volunteer at the Providence VA Medical Center, specifically in the Mobility Assistance Department. You will help disabled veterans like Mrs. Kowalski navigate the building, load wheelchairs, push people who cannot walk on their own. You will do this every Saturday for the next year. You will understand exactly what you took from Mrs. Kowalski every single time you stole her parking space. His attorney objected. Your Honor, that sentence is excessive for parking violations. Counselor, your client made over $200,000 in illegal income while serving as chief of police. He can afford $4,000 in fines, and the community service is appropriate given the nature of his victim and his documented malice on social media. My ruling stands. I looked at Agent Morrison. He is all yours. The FBI agents moved forward. They placed handcuffs on Chief Richard Ashford, former chief of police, in my courtroom, in his dress uniform with 7 commendation medals. The man who thought he was above the law. Richard Ashford, Agent Morrison said formally, you are under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. They read him his full rights, every word, in front of everyone. His attorney followed them out, already making phone calls. Margaret stood slowly. She looked at me. Thank you, Your Honor, she said. Her voice was soft but steady. Thank you for seeing me. Mrs. Kowalski, I said, you served this country with honor. You earned that parking space. You earned respect. I'm sorry it took this long. She nodded, wiped her eyes, walked out of my courtroom with her cane, slowly, dignified, a true hero. You want to know what happened next? Stay with me because this is the part everyone talks about. If you are part of this community, if you believe in accountability, hit that subscribe button now. We are building something special here. People who believe powerful people should face real consequences. The story went viral within hours. Someone in the courtroom recorded Chief Ashford being arrested. The video hit Twitter at 12:18 p.m. By evening, it had 4 million views. By the next morning, every news station in the country was covering it. The Providence Police Department issued a statement. Chief Ashford was suspended without pay pending the federal investigation. The deputy chief took over temporarily. The mayor called a press conference. He claimed he had no knowledge of the parking situation or the federal investigation. Nobody believed him. The FBI investigation moved fast. With Chief Ashford in custody and his own courtroom statements on record, his attorney advised him to cooperate. He did. He gave up names. Other officers involved. City officials who looked the other way. The corruption went deeper than anyone thought. 6 more people were arrested over the next 3 weeks. 2 lieutenants, a city councilman, a property room supervisor, all part of the scheme, all profiting from stolen evidence and seized assets. Chief Ashford pleaded guilty to all federal charges. He was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison, no early release, full restitution of all stolen funds. His police pension was revoked. The Mercedes was seized. The briefcase, everything purchased with dirty money, gone. But here is my favorite part. He still had to complete his 200 hours of community service before reporting to federal prison. Every Saturday for 6 months, he showed up at the Providence VA Medical Center. In plain clothes, no uniform, no authority, just another volunteer pushing wheelchairs and helping veterans. Margaret Kowalski was there most Saturdays, getting treatment for her leg, physical therapy. She never spoke to him, did not have to. He saw her every week, saw what she dealt with, saw other veterans struggling with mobility, saw the real cost of his arrogance. On his last day of community service, March 4th, he approached Margaret in the hallway. I know this because Margaret told me later. She said he stood in front of her, looked at the ground, and said 5 words. "I am sorry, truly sorry." Margaret looked at him for a long moment, then she said, "I hope you mean that." And she walked past him. That was it. No big reconciliation, no forgiveness speech, just acknowledgement and moving forward. Chief Ashford reported to federal prison on March 11th. He is still there today, due for release in 2029. He will be 60 years old. No pension, no career, no reputation. All because he thought he was above parking tickets. I learned something that day. Actually, I learned something I already knew, but was reminded of it in the most dramatic way possible. The law is not just words on paper. It is not just fines and sentences. The law is a promise that everyone, no matter how powerful, is held to the same standard. When that promise is broken, when someone in authority decides they are above the rules, it damages everyone. It tells regular people that the system is rigged. That power means you can do whatever you want. That justice is only for some people. I have been on this bench for 43 years. I have seen thousands of cases, drug dealers, thieves, people who made terrible mistakes. But the cases that bother me most are the ones like Chief Ashford. People in power who abuse that power, who look at someone like Margaret Kowalski and see not a veteran, not a hero, but an inconvenience, someone beneath them. That morning when Chief Ashford walked into my courtroom, he was smiling. He thought this was beneath him, a joke. 60 seconds later, he was being arrested by the FBI. Sometimes justice moves slowly, but when it moves, it is powerful. Margaret still parks in that handicapped space at City Hall. She visits the VA assistance office every few weeks. Nobody takes her spot anymore. The new police chief actually reached out to her personally, apologized on behalf of the department, assigned an officer to make sure the handicapped spaces near City Hall are always respected. Small changes, but important changes. People ask me if I feel good about what happened to Chief Ashford, if I take satisfaction in his downfall. Honestly, I feel sad. Sad that someone with so much potential, so much opportunity to serve his community, chose corruption and arrogance instead. He could have been a great chief. He could have made Providence safer. Instead, he stole from the evidence room and mocked disabled veterans on Instagram. But I also feel hope, because the system worked. Not perfectly, not immediately, but it worked. Margaret filed complaints. She documented evidence. She did not give up even when nobody called her back. She brought it to my courtroom, and we found justice. That is what the law is supposed to do. Protect people like Margaret. Hold people like Chief Ashford accountable. Create consequences when promises are broken. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. Stories like this matter. They remind us that justice is not dead, that accountability still exists, that powerful people can still fall when they forget who they serve. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories like this. Real courtroom cases, real justice, and drop a comment telling me what you think. Should Chief Ashford have gotten more time? Was the sentence fair? I read every single comment.